There's something going on here that, honestly, might be flying under the radar, but it's got the potential to shake up the entire Browns structure in 2026. And it's not just about who's going to be the quarterback, it's about why this debate is even still a thing. Because let's be real for a second. Everybody was ready to turn the page on Deshaun Watson. And now, out of nowhere, he's right back in the middle of the conversation. Let's lay it out first. The Browns head into 2026 with three main names at QB. Shedeur Sanders, who showed real growth late in 2025. Dillon Gabriel, who still feels more like a project than a finished product. And Watson, who, in theory, was basically a closed chapter. But then comes the twist that changes everything. Owner Jimmy Haslam came out and said publicly that Watson has a strong chance to be the starting quarterback this season. And that's not just some throwaway comment. When the owner says something like that, he's not just part of the conversation, he's steering it. Then you add what Adam Schefter said. When an owner puts something like that out there, it's because he believes it. And here's the wild part. Nobody was even factoring Watson into this anymore. And suddenly, he's back on the table as a legit possibility. Now let's zoom out for a second, because this didn't start now. This goes back to one of the most aggressive and, so far, disappointing moves in recent NFL history. The Browns gave up multiple high draft picks and handed Watson a fully guaranteed $230 million deal. That was a franchise bet. That was, this is our guy. And the result? Not even close to what was expected. Limited games, limited production. Almost no real impact. And maybe the biggest concern, no consistent signs that he's getting back to his old level. So, why is this still happening? Why is Watson still in the conversation? Because this isn't just a football decision anymore. It's structural. When you invest that kind of capital, financially and competitively, walking away isn't simple. It's not just moving on from a player. It's admitting a massive mistake. And franchises, especially at the ownership level, will avoid that as long as they possibly can. Now look at the current roster situation. The Browns don't have a locked-in QB. Sanders has flashed potential, but he's not a sure thing yet. Gabriel still needs development. So, there's no definitive answer. And when there's no clear answer, teams start clinging to options that, in a different situation, would already be gone. Now let's talk real impact. First, development. If Sanders is truly the future, he needs reps. He needs rhythm, confidence, stability. If you create a competition influenced by outside pressure, you slow that process down, and QB development doesn't wait. Second, the locker room. Players know real quick when a competition is legit, and when it's not. If Watson starts getting opportunities without producing on the field, that can create tension. And Cleveland's had more than enough identity issues over the year. Third, offensive identity. With Sanders, you're leaning into a more modern, dynamic offense. Quick reads, tempo, movement. With Watson, you're banking on a guy who hasn't shown he fits that mold recently. It's not just swapping names, it's changing how you play. Now, my take, straight up, I don't think Watson makes sense as the primary plan. Not because of off-field stuff, not because of narratives, but because of what he's shown or hasn't shown. If he were low risk, fine. But this isn't that. This is sticking with something that's already shown clear signs it's not working. That said, I get why they're doing it. Because if there's even a small chance to salvage that investment, the Browns are going to take it, even if it means dragging it out one more offseason. Now let's run through the scenarios. Best case scenario. Watson gets healthy, looks good in practice, regains confidence, and becomes a functional QB. Not a star, just steady. That would buy time for Sanders to develop without pressure. Most realistic scenario. Sanders wins the job, Watson becomes the backup, and the team moves forward in transition. No drama, but no clean resolution either. Worst case scenario. Watson gets reps he hasn't earned. The offense stalls. Sanders loses development time. And Cleveland ends up stuck in another year of uncertainty. And here's the key detail for me. When the owner publicly says a player has a strong chance, that's not neutral. That creates pressure. That influences decisions. That shifts the entire environment. At that point, it's not just football anymore, it's politics inside the building. At the end of the day, what we're watching isn't just a QB battle. It's a clash between past and future, between trying to justify an old bet and actually building something new. So now I'll throw it to you. Dog pound mindset. But think like an analyst, too. If you were Stefanski right now, are you still giving Watson a real shot? Or are you closing that chapter and going all in on Sanders? Because this decision doesn't just shape 2026. It could define the Browns for years.